What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham G. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the return of WWE Photo Shoot, which premiered after the Fastlane pay-per-view on Sunday. This episode focusing on AJ Styles. So the first photo we see is of him in Southpaw Regional Wrestling as Malibu Al. And it was, I think, around this time 2 years ago that they actually premiered the Southpaw Regional Wrestling season on the YouTube channel. Like, it was 7 or 8 episodes, multiple episodes they put up on the website and on the YouTube channel. I think they're also on the network too. They did a second season a little later on in the year. Wasn't nearly as good, but it was still enjoyable. But he talked about how anyone that was a part of it was intrigued of how much they can get away with. And again, if you've never seen it, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But it was like this old school wrestling show that they made fun of with AJ Styles. Gallows and Anderson were at the helm of it. Rusev was a part of it. It was just amazing stuff. And they showed the outtakes with Styles, and he said he had a lot of fun doing it because it was something totally different than anything else he's ever done before. The next photo we see is of him making his Royal Rumble debut back at the Rumble in 2016. His WWE debut, I should say. He said the nerves that he had beforehand were ungodly. That was the word that he used. He was worried that the WWE Universe wouldn't know who he was, and he said that it was unbelievable to get that reaction. It doesn't get any better than that for a debut, and he remembered that most fans didn't actually think that he'd show up, so they showed clips of all these fan reactions to his debut at the Rumble that year. I mean, I think a lot of people had a feeling that he would debut in the Rumble, but you never know for certain. Like the Hardy Boys when they came back at WrestleMania 33, a lot of people thought that it would happen, but it didn't really start to sink in till it actually did happen at the event. That was the same thing with AJ Styles' Rumble debut. I fucking lost my mind. I'm sure many other people did as well. The next photo we see for Styles was when he ripped his pants back at TLC 2016. It was a TLC main event for the WWE Championship against Dean Ambrose. And people were talking coming out of the event. It was such a great pay-per-view. The match was awesome. And then he's like, well, I guess he ripped his pants during the course of the match. I didn't particularly notice. Some other people did. That was like the talk of Twitter that night. And it just so happened to happen on a chair spot. So like a chunk of his ass pretty much got cut open. And part of his tights got ripped open. It wasn't like significant, which is why most people didn't even really notice it. Which is why I didn't notice it. But like it was a sliver. Like you thought that it would be part of his. If you saw it on the surface, it would look like it was part of his attire. Unless someone pointed it out to you. But yeah, it happened on a chair spot. He took a back suplex or something like that, an inside-out suplex from Dean Ambrose on these row of chairs, and a piece of the metal chair sliced his butt cheek to the point where it not only sliced his gear, it sliced his butt cheek itself too, which is why it was red because he was bleeding. So that was not a fun moment for AJ Styles. We then see a photo of his 2001 WWE audition. And I don't think this is on the network anywhere. It might be a part of some like documentary they did or something. I don't know. But this was new footage to me. And he said, that must be from like '01 when I first tried out for WWE, because that is something I would never wear now. It was like a fucking sweater or something like that. Something that was straight out of the early 2000s. He said he did terrible, at least on the mic, but not so bad in the ring. We then see a photo of his WCW match or some match that he had in WCW on Nitro. He said that he had a job there for 5 months. He would do anything to get noticed, including aerial maneuvers and just kind of going all out. He was happy to be a part of WCW at that time. Then we see a picture of him in TNA with Ric Flair, and he goes, "Oh, I can't believe we're actually showing this because it took place in TNA," which was pretty amazing. They would use this here in the show, but it's also, I mean, nothing too out of the ordinary because they've included Impact footage on recent like Bruce Pritchard podcasts on the network, Table for 3, WWE 24. So again, this is hardly anything new. But he talked about being mentored by Flair in TNA and how big of a role he played on his career at that point in early 2010. He needed a robe to match, which he really didn't, but he kind of came off as Ric Flair light. It was pretty stupid. He said, "I looked ridiculous," which he did, but it was a fun partnership while it lasted. The whole Fortune thing I was a big fan of. Then we see a picture of him doing, just some photo shoot in WWE, and he has the gloves on and, the signature P1 gloves. He talks about the logo. He said he came up with it sitting around with a buddy trying to come up with new ideas for himself, and it gets harder every year to be that guy, to be the phenomenal one. He said, "I'm going to hang it up whenever I feel like I can't do it anymore." Then we see a shot of the WrestleMania 32 arena, AT&T Stadium in Arlington, where he debuted in front of 100,000 for WrestleMania. Called it amazing and that you can't top that environment. It was a good match against Chris Jericho, too. We see a picture of the WWE 2K19 cover, which he was on the front of. He set a goal for himself early on in his career to be on the front of a wrestling... excuse me. To be on the front of a wrestling video game. It was a goal he never thought he would actually accomplish. So therefore, it was very meaningful to him because he's been addicted to video games since getting a Nintendo back in the 1980s. So it was a huge thing for him to land the cover of the latest WWE video game. We then see a picture of him playing Madden with Kofi Kingston, I think for Up, Up, Down, Down. I think it was a Super Bowl or something like that. He said, I probably lost because I hate losing. We then see a picture of him with Anderson and Gallows, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. He said, we shared so many things together in Japan. I was very happy to have them with me at that point in my WWE career back in 2016. And he recalled the whole beating up John Cena meme, which was after he turned heel and he joined forces with Anderson and Gallows officially. And he loved every bit of it, especially being a heel. Speaking of John Cena, the next picture we see is of Styles facing John Cena back at SummerSlam 2016. He said it was a match that everyone wanted to see, that they were complete opposites in every way, but they made magic every time they wrestled. They gelled and they made it work. They just had amazing chemistry every single time. And he called that one of his favorite matches in WWE. That was the night that Styles beat Cena clean and went on to win the WWE Championship just a month later. And it was a great match. I was actually there in attendance for that show. That show really was not that great on the whole. SummerSlam 2016 was not an amazing event by any stretch, but that match with Cena is still to this day one of the greatest matches I've ever seen live. And they just killed it in that arena. They did an amazing job, and I love the feud, but specifically that match was just tremendous to see in person. The next picture we see is of AJ Styles wearing Cena's armband on his head, coming off that feud with Cena. I think Cena left his armband in the ring that night at SummerSlam. So Styles took that and ran with it, that it was actually his idea. He thought it was a good idea, and it looked ridiculous, but it was funny for his heel character. And he said, yeah, it showed how big Cena's arms are, that I was able to wrap the entire thing around my head, and he called it a lot of fun. We see a selfie with him, Anderson, and Gallows, showing off their abs in front of a mirror, like it was something straight out of high school or something like that, like some high school kid would do. He said it would seem absurd to anyone on the surface, but he talked about how everyone has to step up their game now that Carl Anderson is no longer fat and that he's ripped and has great abs. We see a picture of AJ with Rey Mysterio backstage. He talked about meeting him in WCW and that he's been doing it at such a high level for such a long time that everyone in the business aspires to be like Rey Mysterio. Everyone in the business looks up to Rey Mysterio. And he said it's a blessing to have Rey Mysterio back, to not only the fans, but everyone backstage as well, and that it's a dream match 100%. So they're both on SmackDown currently. I don't know how likely it is that we'll get that match before Styles, I would assume, likely moves to Raw in the Superstar Shakeup. But it's a match I would still love to see at some point. We then see him winning the WWE Championship at Backlash 2016. He said it was unbelievable, having not been in WWE for even a year by that point, to win the title. He was congratulated backstage by Shane and Triple H, called it a great match, and he was very happy with the turnout. That was the night that he actually beat Dean Ambrose, and yeah, it was a really, really good match. We see a picture of him, or not of him, but him taking a picture of Charlotte Flair sleeping with, like, some sort of, like, what do you call those things that people sleep with at night that they put over their eyes? Like, I don't know what the fucking word would be. I'm at a loss for words right now, but she had like one of those on, those things that you put around your neck when you're traveling to sleep. So she looks super comfortable yet embarrassing at the same time. So she covers her eyes when she sleeps. It was from a flight overseas. And AJ said that he did that and posted it online because Charlotte would take embarrassing photos of him in compromising positions when he was sleeping on flights. So he only thought it was fitting to repay the favor. Kurt Angle is the next picture we see. AJ Styles talked about how he was a hero of his long before that he joined WWE and even before Angle joined WWE. That it was very intimidating to step in the ring with him. And he never seemed like he was sucking wind, Angle did, back when they faced each other in TNA. And I think they might have showed a picture of that too, but I'm not exactly sure. I think they just alluded to it. And AJ did not know if he could hang with him. And ultimately he did. And they had amazing chemistry and they worked wonderfully together. Then he talks about facing Shane McMahon at WrestleMania 33, how great of a match it was, how a lot of people did not expect that. I didn't expect that. I was at the event. I loved the match. I thought it was the best way to close or open the show, rather. And he said, people just don't know how dedicated Shane McMahon is to making things perfect. And that he's athletic as crap. That's what he said. And it was, he said that they're very close. They were very close coming out of that match. We then see a picture of AJ pinning Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship back on SmackDown in November of 2017, saying what a moment that was, that no one expected it, and it's going to be in the record books forever. It was the first time that the WWE title had changed hands overseas, so it was very hard to explain how something like that feels. The next picture we see is of AJ with his wife Wendy at the Hall of Fame a few years ago. He says they've been together now for 18 years, and he's very happy to share moments like that with her. And the AJ tattoo that he has on his side, which he's talked about before in various platforms and on Superstar Inc. with Corey Graves, the AJ tattoo is not meant for him because his name is AJ Styles. It's meant for his kids. And you see the dates right next to it, and those are meant for the 4 kids that he has. And he says that children will change you, and he said that his kids have helped make him a better person. We also see a picture of Samoa Joe. He said, one of the baddest dudes I know, that he's known him for a very, very, very long time, that the matches have always been really, really good, and that there's something about him that's just awesome, because he's not your typical wrestler, and he's very athletic, and he's just a badass dude. And the last picture we see of Styles is of him bleeding at SummerSlam 2018 when he faced Samoa Joe for the WWE Championship. He said there was a lot of emotions going on at that moment. It was a great story being told. The whole match was very physical. And he actually hit his head on the steps when he got thrown into the steps by Samoa Joe. And he said it's important that the fans are entertained, but he could tell that his daughter was afraid for her dad, and that being a dad and being a husband is what is most important. So, the daughter seemed pretty scared that AJ was bleeding, that her dad was bleeding, but he assured her that, he was okay, that he was going to get it checked out, that he was fine. But yeah, that was a really good feud, a very underrated feud from 2018, in my opinion. And that does it for Photo Shoot with AJ Styles. A very good episode. Be sure to check it out on the WWE Network, about 22 minutes in length. So check it out at your leisure. And yeah, we have another one coming up tomorrow as well. It actually already aired, but my review of it is coming up tomorrow here on Network and Chill with Dolph Ziggler. So stay tuned for that as well. So until next time, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.